what's going on, y'all? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And you're about to watch a little OTB LSU.
We're going to give you all the latest, greatest between LSU football, baseball, women's basketball, softball, and everything in between.
Bottom line, if you want to talk Tigers, keep it locked, subscribe, like it, and we hope you enjoy
My bad, guys. I should have looked up for an update. But Rivers running Louisiana Sports.net. I think you'll know this. Is the Alex Atkins news confirmed yet? I don't think so, right? But it's pretty. It seems like it's going to happen.
Yeah,
so,
I did feel like Taylor in his intro for this hour was basically telling us we had to talk about this.
Yeah.
So let's get into it.
Well, I mean, look, I think it's a big. I think it's a big get. As for those that don't know, LSU right now on the coach staff has one spot available. It is the tight ends coach, and it looks like, I guess, barring anything unforeseen that would blow up the deal last minute, it looks like former Florida State O-line coach and OC Alex Atkins is going to be your tight end coach. That's a really, I mean, what's crazy to think about is that's a really big name for a job a lot of times, Jake, that is kind of treated like an afterthought. I mean, tight ends coaches a lot of times where somebody gets like their maybe their first step into being a position coach, or you just gotta throw it, you just gotta like put him there. And yet,
if you're trying to like hide a coach until he gets his he's going to be good, but it's like we're going to put you there until you get your next opportunity.
Yes.
That's why it was so wild when Denbrock was the OC and coaching tight ends.
And even then, he's really the OC, right? But yeah, man, Alex Atkins, who his time at Florida State is fascinating because he's the O-line coach. He does very well. Then he gets to be the offensive coordinator, and that goes very well. But just like everything else at Florida State, just the bottom fell out last year. I don't know what happened. They went from leading the ACC in scoring, being one of the best teams in the country, to being 131 in the country this last year. And he ends up getting fired, and now he's going to be LSU's tight ends coach. So I'm just kind of flabbergasted because, again, that's a position group or position coach job that I normally don't think about. And you just added a wealth of experience. And he's a very good O-line coach on top of all the OC knowledge. But, another big brain entering those offensive meeting rooms.
Yeah, you look at his resume, and he's been a coordinator. He's been an assistant head coach at multiple places. I mean, he's been at Tulane, from 2016 to 2018. So he would have some ins already in recruiting, which goes a long way, as we know, to not have to, learn how it works here in Louisiana, but certainly in that New Orleans area because he's already had that experience. So that gives him a leg up, I think, as well. That's, kind of the off the field portion of it. Then the on the field, I mentioned he's been an offensive coordinator in multiple spots, and I think he was the fall guy. He was a fall guy for Norvell and that staff, and that's why he got fired because, they made the wrong decision. Mike Norvell brought in DJU. DJU is, he's just not a great quarterback, okay? And they tried to run their offense through him. Didn't work. Now, they had more issues than Vogue. It wasn't just the quarterback, but, it was the totality of the team. But it was certainly, DJU wasn't great for that offense. I'm not sure what offense he's great for, but it certainly wasn't that one. No. And so they made a bad decision at quarterback. And, again, it all just started to fall apart. And then Atkins was the guy that kind of became hey, you got to fall on the sword because I'm not falling on the sword. And so don't allow that to cloud your judgment. This is somebody that, Broyles Award candidate, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, 2 years
ago. 2 years ago, yeah. Okay, yeah. So if you can get him as your tight end coach, knowing he's already got roots in New Orleans, knowing that he's got a history of being a play caller, that is yet again another great set of eyes for you there if you're Joe Sloan and the offensive staff.
Yeah, and you looked now in back-to-back days, talk about Lance Guidry coming over from Miami, now Alex Atkins. Those are a couple of big-time coordinators who you can say have fallen on hard times. But, again, when it comes to the collaborative effort of game planning, those are a couple of big brains that you're adding to the mix that I don't think there's any way to construe that as a negative. So, again, the LSU staff, top to bottom, we can say outside of head coach because Brian Kelly finds himself falling out of all the top 10 head coach of the country list, and I think rightfully so. Even though he's been really good, whatever. I think rightfully so. But the LSU staff, outside of head coach Jake, top to bottom, maybe the best in the country. Like it's definitely up there. I would put this staff against anyone. It's probably the reason why I have the most so much belief in this team. I mean, when you talk about like everybody that we always talk about, Peoples, Raymond, Bo Davis, Brad Davis is one of the best O-line coaches in the entire country. You heard Miles Frazier talk about him. Really, honestly, interestingly enough, Jake, Joe Sloan's probably like if you still had Denbrock in that role, then you'd probably feel better about staff because Joe Sloan is maybe the guy that would have to prove himself most in that group. But like this group of position coaches is elite, and Scott Woodward continues to give Brian Kelly everything that he needs resource-wise to try and make this thing happen.
And that's why the expectation is not going to go anywhere. It's why you have to make the 12-team playoff this upcoming football season, because you start talking about, you know, even on the offensive side, you're Frank Wilson and having Cortez Hankton and the receivers that he's coached here in his career at Georgia, at LSU. You know, every guy that sits down here talks about Brad Davis, and so it's on both sides of the football. Like you're set up. You got the tools. Now you got to go build it with those tools, and not like a nice year. Like you got to go make the 12-team playoff
Easily.
Everybody knows what you have. You've done a deep dive into the portal. You had the thing that you had to have happen in Garrett Nussmeier coming back.
Yep.
Right. That has to happen. Can't go any other direction. It happened. He's back. You get a lot of pieces back. The offensive line is going to be one of the biggest questions, but we saw what it's going to look like maybe in the bowl game. There's no excuses. It is 12-team playoff or bust for LSU.
Without a doubt. I mean, you got 8% of the top 100 transfer portal players, more than anybody else in the entire country.
Wow, Jake, what incredible takes.
I mean, those guys, they're just the best.
I think so. And if you think so, again, hit the like button, subscribe, ring the bell so you get notifications when we post every single day here on OTB LSU.